Hey mate, how are you?
Not so bad, buddy. How about yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, brother. Just put this computer up a bit higher. You got me there?
Yeah, mate. Yep.
Oh, it's a bit wobbly there.
Yeah.
There we go, man. How's
Beautiful.
everything going, brother?
Yeah, good, buddy. How about yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, man.
Not so bad. That's the way.
Yeah,
First of all, mate, thank you for doing this interview with me.
yeah, no
It's
problems.
really appreciated, mate. Just to give you a bit of a rundown of my page and what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to promote the game, rugby league here in Perth. I go to local competitions, the local comps over here, take photos of the juniors and seniors, results, all that sort of stuff. I was down at the Harmony Nines tournament on the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
The Indigenous men's went undefeated through the whole tournament yesterday, and unfortunately we lost the grand final. But that's just the way it is, unfortunately. But yeah, no, that's what I do, mate. So I'm just trying to promote the game here in Perth, get more people involved.
Easy, but that's really good, man. It's helpful, eh? So appreciate all the work that you're doing with it all, and happy to help out.
No, thank you very much, mate. So we'll get into a bit of your career and stuff like that, mate, and just have a chat as we go, mate.
Yeah, sweet.
So you played 159 NRL games, 60 over in the Super League in England, so 219 first grade games, mate. Is there anything in particular that stands out for you in your career in the Super League or NRL?
To tell the truth, it's all a bit of a blur at the moment. I remember playing against Alfie Langer in a game, and got to play against Laurie Daly in my first year. So that probably two of my highlights is to play, some legendary players that I'd sort of looked up to, and then playing with Brad Fittler at the Roosters was a highlight too. So probably those are the key things that I remember most, and got a real buzz out of, was just playing against legends who I'd looked up to for a long time.
Yeah, cool. How was your transition over to the Super League, mate? How did you find that?
Yeah, I loved it. I loved it over in England. It was a great place. It reminded me of going back to the country here in Australia and where I grew up. And football was like that. It reminded me of why I fell in love with the game. And the English fans are so passionate, and they get right into it. And I love that aspect of it. And I'd been to England when I was a 16-year-old, playing in an Indigenous team that went over there. So I was always keen to go back. I loved the place when I went there, and seeing how passionate they were about rugby league and how much they loved the game. And I always wanted to go back there. So it was the right time for me to go back towards the end of my career. Yeah,
cool. No, that's awesome. You've also played, one New South Wales country game, PM's 13, and a Aboriginal Dreamtime game. How important was that for you to represent your Indigenous culture, mate?
Yeah, no, extremely proud to represent my people, and we did it as a welcome to country game at the World Cup against the New Zealand Maori team. So it was a real highlight for me, and playing alongside Preston Campbell and Reece Wesser, and some of the Carl Webb, some of the players we had in that team. It was a real buzz for us all. It was the first time that there was no All Stars back then, so it was the first time that we got to represent our mob, and that's where we had to play for our people. So one of the moments that I really cherish in my rugby league career.
Yeah, cool. It must make you proud to see this Indigenous All Stars versus the Māori All Stars and all that sort of stuff coming up every year.
Yeah, no, man, it's something I'm really proud of, and the pathways and opportunities that it's created for our people is fantastic. And then the connection and cultural learning, I suppose, you take from being involved with a proud, people like the Māori people. That's taken it to the next level this last couple of years. But yeah, I just see that, it's a real celebration, the All-Stars, of what our people can provide to the game and what our people give to the game, but also how much the game's given to Aboriginal people, and we celebrate that week. So it's something that, I'm extremely proud of, and I love, and I look forward to every year. Yeah,
cool. When you were growing up, mate, was there anyone in particular who inspired you And if so, what was it about them that inspired you, mate?
My dad was my first inspiration. He was hard working and very talented football player. He trained as hard as he could and had great sort of values and lessons around rugby league, and so passionate about the game and loved every bit of it. Cliffy Lyons and Artie Beetson were a couple of people I looked up to. Cliffy was my favourite player, and I used to love watching him play. He was amazing, and then Artie Beetson was just a legend, and he was the man who sort of brought me to Sydney and got me to play for the Roosters. So they were probably two people I looked up to from afar, and people I sort of admired in the game.
Yeah, cool. 2017, mate, you get to coach the NRL Women's All Stars team against the Gillaroos. How was that experience for you, mate?
Yeah, no, it was something I'm extremely proud of, and our girls, we had a talented bunch of players that were very young and hadn't yet, weren't experienced at the top level of the game. And we're up against some of the best players in the game, been around for a long time. So for us to, that team to come together and realise that they could capitalise on their talent and work hard and make a career of the sport or go to represent at the highest level was the big challenge for us, I suppose, the big carrot for us. So I just loved it, because we got a lot of girls who just sort of played footy in the knockouts and carnivals for a bit of fun or just sort of were talented at the game but never really pursued any dreams or real ambition in it. And all of a sudden we were able to, through the All-Stars, get these girls to realise there's bigger opportunities, and a lot of them went on to represent Australia and New Zealand and Queensland and later down the track, the NRLW. So that's what the All-Stars is about, is having that step. But to coach, my own people at the highest level was something I'm proud of.
Yeah, cool. Because I know I read up that obviously you're a huge fan of the NRLW. What the big fan of women in sport. Is there any sort of in particular reason why you are a huge fan of that, or not just a fan, but you're trying to get it out there more? Is there any in particular reason?
Yeah, I think my passion comes from my daughter, Yalara, my youngest daughter. She loves the game, and she was one of the first group of girls in New South Wales that got to play rugby league all the way through. Didn't have to give up once they got sort of the 10, 11 years age and not play again until they were women, So she got to play rugby league every year of her life as a youngster, and she's just got this massive passion for the game, and I wanted to help her with her career, but also I saw a lot of our women around that loved the game with the same passion and just needed some guidance and someone to help support them. So, and then once I got involved in the game, the women are just so great to work with. They're very talented. The passion's there, the love of the game. It's fun, and they're learning rapidly. They're improving every year, and the game just seems to go up and up every year. So I'm really loving the journey of being part of that,
Yeah. I found with watching the NRLW that the women seem to play more simplistic football like it was back in the 90s, more hard-hitting, not so much technical stuff in the sense of the block plays and all this sort of stuff. And I find personally that it's more entertaining at times than the men's. Do you find that yourself?
Yeah. It's a little bit more raw. They play eyes up football a little bit more, and they take a few more risks. And the men's game has probably become a little bit, I wouldn't say predictable, but I'd say that the teams seem to play a very similar style against each other. There's no variance and no real change in the way some of the teams approach the game. So, but in the women's space, you'll find there's a lot of different things happening all the time, and the girls play eyes up. There's different talented players that can take control of any sort of issue and see things on the field that they back, and they've still got that raw football ability to play tough and hard and try and intimidate each other, So you see a lot of those old school values in the women's rugby league, and it certainly is entertaining to watch.
Oh, definitely, mate. Do you have a dark time in your career that you went through? And have you got any advice to people that are listening, especially young Indigenous people that could watch this video, and advice for them to help them come out of a dark time?
Yeah, well, I always say a couple of things is the NRL stands for not real long. So, if you don't do the right thing off the field and you don't commit to your training and listen to your coaches and stuff like that, your career will be not real long. And if you do the wrong thing, your behaviour is bad, you get into trouble and all that sort of stuff, your career is not real long as well. But more importantly, I suppose, is even if you do make it to the top and play a good career, it's not real long. You retire early, you're only a young man when you finish. So you've got to have, people say, have a backup plan or a plan B. And we say have two plan A's, have two plan A's, one for what you want to do on the sporting field and give that everything you got, and make the most of it. But also have a plan A off the field about what work you want to be in, what career you want to have, and all that stuff, because it's equally as important. Put a lot of work into that and set yourself up. And look, I've been through hard times. I was a young bloke at the Roosters, and my contract finished, and I didn't get offered a new contract. I had two choices, whether to go home and just play local football back in Armidale, or stay in Sydney and try and push for a second chance. And I think you when you get those toughest times, you've got to dig deep, but you also got to assess what you're doing and work a bit harder and focus in on specific things and be disciplined and give up some of the things that are holding you back. So, there's a lot of lessons that, a lot of sayings I like to use in life. If you ever want to gain something, you got to give up a lot of things to do it. And that's the priority, is always focus on those things you're going to give up straight away. Your late nights, getting to bed early, sugary food, sweets, alcohol, drinks, cigarettes, whatever it is, you got to give stuff up if you want to get good results. So a lot of valuable lessons, but for me is always keep reevaluating. Everyone fails, everyone falls down, everyone loses and misses opportunity at some stage. You just got to refocus, look at what you're doing, and then dig deeper and go again.
Yeah. Speaking of the dark times, mate, 2005, there's a bit of a controversial thing with Brian Fletcher from South. He obviously said something to you on the field, a bit of a racial vilification, mate. How did you deal with that, mate? And your mental state with that sort of stuff coming out, especially on a footy field?
Yeah, heartbreaking, because he was my good mate when I was at the Roosters, and I probably wouldn't have played first grade if it wasn't for Brian Fletcher. So to hear that come out on the field, and whether it's through frustration or fatigue or whatever it is, it's not a good thing. And, it certainly cut me deep, but it really hurt. And for a while there, I was just sort of lost, and it just took away my value and my strength as a man. I felt like I really just shrunk and felt really like nothing for a part of the game. But I was really proud of my teammates, come to my support and help me. But one thing I always say about racism is you can't fight it with anger and frustration and hatred. You've got to treat it with sensitivity and caring and humility, and you've got to try and help someone, educate someone about the effects of racism, the damage it does, and how we can all be in a better place by learning more. And I think when you treat it like that, that's when there's real growth out of any any instance of racism. And I think both parties become better, and they both become advocates then for the voice against racism. So, when you fight it with anger and hatred and all that sort of stuff, well, all you're doing is feeding it, and it just grows. So
Yep.
I'd like to, you always stand strong on it. I'm very strong on my stance against racism, and I don't tolerate it at all. But I also think there's got to be a journey that people go on, and try and be part of the answer is my recommendation there.
Yeah, we found out a lot about the education and stuff with the Adelaide Crows footballer that at one of the local games he called out an Indigenous man. Huge backlash from that, and he instantly regretted it. Obviously, obviously playing with a lot of Indigenous people in his team, and the club sanctioned him for it. So, I think that's all we can do is. I personally don't go through it. My dad is of darker skin. He went through that sort of stuff as a kid, and it's about education, like you said. If people are educated the right way, my point of view is that you can never get rid of it. Racism, it's always going to be there because there's always going to be narrow-minded people.
Yep.
But it's the way we deal with it in society, and educate people the right way to try avoid a lot of the narrow-minded people.
100%, man, 100%.
In that 2004, you returned to Armidale in New South Wales to go to Duval High to complete your higher education, mate, high school cert. Was that a big thing for you to get back and complete your high school education?
Yeah, no, always. My mum was a school teacher, so she was very strict on no sport before schoolwork and always behave at school and complete your studies. And my dad was drilled it into us from a young age that you got to finish year 12. So no matter what it is you want to do, and I believe that having good habits and good routines at school and in the house at home, that will set you up for any career you want. Whether it's sporting or whatever, it's very strongly connected to your behaviour at school. So kids want to be good sportsmen, no matter what sports it is. You've got to do the right thing at school and at home. So can't be an idiot at school and expect to be a superstar football player. It doesn't happen that way.
Yeah, exactly, mate. So the same year, 2004, you win the Ken Stevens Medal for your work with the youth and the community, mate. How much of an honour was that to win that award? Yeah,
something I'm pretty proud of now when I look back, and I think the more prestige, I suppose, or good feeling about that award was that it raised awareness for some of the issues in the Indigenous community. So I'm like any football, everyone wants to give back and make a difference and do the best you can to support people. And I think there's a lot of people doing that, but I just wanted to make sure that winning that award was good for me, but it was great for the different organisations or the different issues that I try and raise awareness for. So that was the real pleasing thing to get out of that.
Yeah, cool, mate. 2006, mate, you end up being part of the federal government Indigenous Council. Obviously another big honour for yourself, mate. Being an Indigenous man representing your people in the federal government, mate. Can you just talk us through that sort of stuff and your responsibility with that?
Yeah, a bit of a learning curve, I suppose. I was one of the young guys on there, and Adam Goods was the other young footballer on there as well. So, we got to learn a lot about different levels of government. Obviously, having the ear of the Prime Minister and the Indigenous Affairs Advisor was something fantastic and something that blew me away. But it just raised awareness, my awareness of all the issues that our people face out there and what the answers could be and how we need to work hard to solve some of these problems that are out there or to get some steps forward on it. So there's always some big challenges. The past has been traumatic and, a lot of that trauma still exists in Indigenous people in communities today, the way they live their life and the choices they make, and also the way they see the choices that they're able to make. The opportunities in far, and it's really tough to see when you've been through traumatic experiences. So it opened my eyes up being on that council, and I think we did well to make a small difference. It looks at at the big issues that we face and how big a challenge it is. That's something that I really noticed when I was on that board. Yeah,
cool. You're also an ambassador for the National Aboriginal Sports Corporation of Australia. What's your role with that, mate?
Oh, so that was good working for NASCA, it's called. And we used to go out to the remote communities in the Northern Territory and sometimes WA and deliver sporting goods, run sporting programs, or just deliver goodwill and stuff to the community. So really good. They take a lot of sports role models, a lot of different people from the cities, take them out there, and you spend time in community. So I was at Yundamu and Papanya, went up to Tiwi Islands as well. So I got to visit some places in the Northern Territory where I saw a lot and learned a lot and really loved the way the people live out there, but also took the opportunity to deliver those healthy messages and drop some sporting goods off, some books and stuff to encourage people to start reading and things like and that was really great thing that NASCA does, is to get out there and help those that are in those rural and remote communities.
Yeah, cool. Have you got any advice for young Indigenous kids here in Perth? Like, not just in sports, but in general?
I think be proud of your culture. Make sure you represent your culture, and do the right thing. We got to show the best of what we are. Look at it, and I look at my culture through a real positive lens. I think for far too long there's been this negative lens that's shined on our communities and reflected through stuff that happens in our communities or stuff that's reported or said about our communities, where our people, are intelligent, smart, hardworking, out-survived every other culture in the world, so really, really some great values and stuff, the way they traditionally lived. And I like to shine the light on that sort of stuff. And with the stuff that I do every day in my life, it's about representing my people and showcasing the best of our people. And I try and do that everywhere. So I encourage young people, be proud, but also make sure you're doing the right thing to represent our people in the right possible way and make a difference.
Yeah. Would you say that would be the same advice for the adult or the senior Indigenous here in Perth, or not just in Perth, but in general?
Yeah, I think just in general, it's make sure you're starting those ripple effects. The decision making you have every day, the habits you create, the positive routine you create every day. You got to work hard, that stuff, but that also makes a difference. And sometimes you won't see what the results of that difference that you're making is. It's 20 years down the track for some young kid or your grandkid or your son or, future generations. They'll be the ones to reap the rewards of the stuff that you put in today. So always about, making those small decisions, creating those positive routines and healthy habits. They're the things that will lead to positive change. And that's what I really believe. And I encourage everyone to do that.
Yeah, cool. Have you got any sort of, how do I put it? Any sort of way that we could promote, or not promote, but get more Indigenous people here, especially in Perth. Us, like myself, I know that Indigenous people, my missus is a Māori. Māori people, Indigenous people in Australia, they have a natural talent for sport. And I see a lot of it wasted at times. Do you have sort of anything where, that the young Indigenous can get into rugby league over here, especially over here?
Well, I think it's the perfect game for a lot of Indigenous people to play. I went down to South Australia and I've been over to Perth, and you see these young kids, they play AFL. And look, to be honest, my size, I was never going to be able to play AFL because, you got to be so lean and run so long and stuff like that. But for the bigger, solider type of guys, the rugby league's a perfect game for them to play. And I see a lot of these kids that run around, are so gifted athletically in those places in WA and South Australia. But their size is probably going to mean they're not going to make it all the way to the top of the AFL. But they could easily go and throw a footy around and play rugby league and get into that game. And I think you'll find out that natural talent will develop. And because you got a little bit extra size, you become a really good player. So that's what I'd say to them over there. And I say that all the time when I go to South Australia, especially is, the size is a weapon in our game. We're in AFL, size is a little bit of a hindrance, I suppose, because they run so far, and it's about their ability to run longer distance and keep moving. But in rugby league, that little bit of size can add to your game. So for some of those bigger, solider kids, come and play rugby league.
Yep, yeah, definitely. What are you up to these days, mate? Is there anything in particular that you're doing with yourself these days, especially with the community?
Yeah, well, I'm coaching the NRLW team at Parramatta, which I'm looking forward to. We've got some talent players. We've got Kennedy Charrington too, who's a WA girl, and she's fantastic, and she's part of our team, so she'll be there. I'm Indigenous Pathways Manager at the NRL, so look after a lot of our Indigenous programs there in the game and looking at pathways for coaches and players and how we can develop those. And it also means I get the opportunity to run the All-Stars, and we've had a WA player in Lena Nona Bush come and play with us in the All-Stars. So she come all the way out of WA. And so there's been those opportunities, developing those pathways. And I also do some stuff on Over the Black Dot on NITV, and I know the WA games are on after that. So I get to watch some of the football from WA and sort of promote that game as well over there. So, I just love rugby league and involved at all different levels.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, with your NRLW, mate, is there Parramatta? Parramatta. Is there anything special going on at the moment, like recruitment wise, or you got a full squad yet, or?
Yeah, no, we've got a full squad because the comp was supposed to start in October there, and was supposed to start even earlier than that. But we've been prepped for a while now, so we're just eagerly awaiting for us to be given the green light so that we can start training and prepping the girls up for next year, because the comp's going to start in early February and be ready to go.
Yeah, cool. I've lost my next question. Sorry. With the 18th possible 18th teammate, how do you think Perth would fare for that, mate?
Well, it makes sense, I suppose. We want to be the National Rugby League, and for Melbourne to be the only team that's sort of west of Sydney, when we've got this big country, it's probably, it tells us that we need to start getting over there and doing some more. And I think the talented athletes are over there. The passion for the game, they seem to love their sport in WA. I was there for the Origin, and the crowd was enormous. And I've seen some of the club games that have been played over there for the Rabbitohs and stuff over the years. And there's a passion for the game over there, and I think it'll be ideal. It makes us a total national competition, gives us a bit more of a spread into those western states. We've only got Melbourne as far as we go, and I think it's time. The game's got to look to do it, and we'll see where we land.
Yeah, I mean, I was at that Origin game too, mate, and I knew there was people that I ran into that weren't full rugby league fans, but they were there to support the rugby league. And it's great to see. What do you think the NRL should do with pathways for Perth, for the people in Western Australia? I know we've got the Pirates at the moment that are running the SG Ball. Is there any other plans for NRL to sort of get in over here?
Yeah, I think that affiliated states is a next big focus for the NRL, to get out and look at different avenues into the game and where we can draw on new players and stuff like that, make a difference. And obviously with the big infrastructure of a big city like Perth, you got to tap into something there. So I think, I've seen the Pirates play a few games and some of their staff. I know at the National Champions last year, WA dominant in the women's game amongst the affiliated states. So there's some talent there, and we've got to make sure that we offer those pathways. I think the Nationals is a real chance for women to be stand up from WA. As far as the elite competitions, as I know that Kennedy obviously had to relocate, and her younger sister's just relocated as well, and making, Ruben's making a big difference in the game over here. So I think it's for girls to, if they can, to see that same pathway that these two girls have sort of trodden for others to follow. And I've no doubt there's guys in the men's game that have done the same thing, that have relocated and still represent WA from over here. And then I think they'll always, for those players that do make it, the opportunity to go back and make a difference and to keep giving back. And as we develop competitions over there, and get them competitions stronger and stuff like that, the game will only just grow. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how that all works. But yeah, last year, from what I've seen in the last couple of years, the WA teams at the National Championship seem to do really well. So the game is in the right direction over there.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'm hoping that the game gets a lot more pathways over here, because there is so much untapped talent over here, especially in the women, mate. Nearly every club's got a couple of women tag, women tackle, all these sort of teams, and then the young girls coming through. There's so much of the women's and girls coming through. It's beyond a joke almost. They're outnumbering the men to a lot at a lot of the clubs.
Awesome.
Yeah, mate. I'm all out of questions at the moment, mate, but I really do appreciate your time.
No problem, brother.
Thank you so much for having a chat with us, mate. Good luck with the Parramatta NRLW team, mate, and good luck with everything else with the NRL.
Thanks, mate. See you later.
Thanks, mate. See ya.
Goodbye.